And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 77, the Raymond Bork episode. No issue there. No wondering who it is, because we're getting into that space in Bruins numbers where you never know if anyone was that number. But 77,
Yes.
Ray Bork, obviously. But
Rings
I'm
a
Evan
bell.
Marinofsky. Yeah, rings the bell. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That is Conor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Now people are going to bet the hell out of the Bruins this weekend because you said doing great. Simple, just doing
Uh,
great.
good
That's how
vibes
people
all
know.
around here. They're about to get smoked by
Yeah.
Minnesota now that I said that, but
Yeah, they've
good
killed
vibes.
it a while.
It's all about having a good mindset, right, Evan? So let's start on a good foot here.
Growth mindset, positive mindset. That's all that matters, right? Today's a positive, fun, reinforcing episode. I think that's a good thing. We need that. We haven't had that in a while.
Haven't had it like all
But
season.
no, hasn't
Not
ever.
really. Yeah.
Yeah. Even now, people are like, "Oh, it was the Sabres, the Red Wings, and the Devils," and it's like, that's not entirely false.
Eh,
You got a
we'll talk
point
about it
there.
later.
Anyways, how was your New Year's? I have not talked to you since New Year's. So how's 2022 treating you?
Uneventful so far. The Bruins are doing well, which makes it a good start to the year. I don't have nearly as much doom and gloom. We haven't, my Q&As, my mailbags aren't filled with like time to blow it all up or when a guy's getting fired. So again, as you said, and we'll talk about it later, taking care of the teams they should take care of, but all in considered, they're doing their job, which is all you're looking for this team right now is just get some traction. And in terms of me, nothing much has been going on. Just covering hockey. The schedule's ramping up, so I'm not going to have a lot of free time anyway over the next couple of months. But as long as the Bruins are doing well, it makes the job a whole lot easier, right?
Oh, absolutely. Keeps it more fun, and our replies aren't, as you said, doom and gloom and all those things.
Now
The
it's just
DMs.
now it's people just being mad about Tuukka Rask, which
Yes.
yeah, the sky's blue. Shocking.
It's coming. Well, one big development of you from 2022 is TikTok. You are now TikTok famous. You are like the Charlie D'Amelio of Bruins TikTok. Do you even know who that is?
I have no friggin' clue who that is.
Oh, that's tough.
I'm assuming it's someone who dances to like a loud luxury song. Is that
Well,
it?
you wouldn't be entirely false. She was like
Okay, that's
she was like
that's a safe way to.
15 or 16 when she first like blew up on TikTok, and now is like I think the most followed person on the app. But that was a few
Okay.
years
Well,
ago. But she's still
I have a
huge.
long
So
way to go. I haven't
you're
gotten to the point yet where my buddy Kevin texted me and it's like you should do like one of those things where you dance and then like point at all like the COVID updates like of how many guys are on the shelf. I'm like, no, I'm not getting that far. I'll do like a
I'm
time lapse.
stealing that idea. I'm
Yeah,
stealing that
yeah,
idea.
I'm doing like a time lapse of like, the God and Bull gang switching from the ice to the parquet for the Celtics, but I'm not dancing yet. Yet. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
If the
that's
Bruins
yeah.
just tank and we're into like April and like they're just blowing it up, then we might have to start dancing. But right now, I think we're good.
If they tank, you start dancing. If they win the cup, you gotta become just a full dance TikTok. That's like your whole
Yes.
account, not just like Bruins. It's just like
I mean,
dancing.
hey, I'll declare it now. If the Bruins win the cup, yeah, I'll do like 10 dance like TikToks in a row to whatever songs
Yes,
you want, Evan. It could be like
we can
Creed.
pick.
I could give a shit.
Well, I will pick two of the songs, but the other eight will be listener picks because we gotta
Okay.
keep the people
I'm
involved, so people
absolutely
can keep it
horrified.
involved as well. Yeah. Well, now you better hope they don't win the cup. I'll get on this too because I think that'll be a
Okay.
fun thing to do.
Spoke Z's gonna clip this now or something.
100%. 100%. Learning TikTok dances because when I was in college for the past couple of years, friends would always do it like, when you were about to go out, they'd be like, oh, come on, try to learn this TikTok dance. And I could never, I am not musically gifted in any way. My body moves well playing hockey. But that's about it. You don't want to see me dance. But yeah, no. So interested to see
The
the
content.
evolution. Yes, the content. That is the perfect word I was looking for. My 2022 has been whatever. It's been fine. It's been
Recovering
normal.
from your ski incident. Put that in the
Yes,
past in the review.
there's no more scars. It's done. I'm good. The only inconvenience is my contacts haven't come in yet because everything takes so long to come in these days, and everything, the world is falling apart at the seams. So my contacts are probably on a ship in like Egypt, just waiting to be shipped here, which
Stuck
is
in the
going to be.
Suez Canal. R.I.P.
Yes. I can't wait. Anyways, to Bruins things. People always get so mad when we take time for
What
just
the
shooting
fuck are
shit.
they talking about TikTok for?
What is TikTok? The crotchety old people who hate Rask. What is this TikTok the kids are talking about? I mean, come on. Jeez. Um, anyways, we have some news to discuss first. Tomas Nosek is out with COVID. It was announced Wednesday morning. He is another one, yet another on the shelf with COVID. It's him and Carson Coleman right now, right? And a couple of staffers. Is that what it is?
Jake DeBrusk.
Oh my God. And Jake DeBrusk.
He's
Wow.
he's
Okay.
still on the team, Evan.
Forgot he was still here. But Tomas Nosek is out, which is tough for him. Obviously, A, because he has COVID. But B, what is bad for the Bruins and for his hockey play is he was starting to look great on that fourth line. And not just starting to. I mean, I felt like in the first half, which didn't feel like a half, but in the first few months, he was fine on the fourth line. Like, I never looked at him as an issue. You would have liked to see a couple more, a little more production, but he was still fine on that fourth line. Now it's really tough because that fourth line was really starting to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you look at, obviously, we'll talk about just this kind of 3-game win streak and the fact that they've had so many guys kind of step up. But yeah, especially look at that fourth line. I mean, I asked Bruce Cassidy about it after the game on Tuesday, and he was, flat out said that fourth line was their best line. I don't think it was even close, right? I mean, not just the fact that, you had two guys scoring, Lazar and Frederick. Granted, some fortunate bounces, which, let's be fair, how many times have we talked about like how little puck luck the Bruins had? Like, it was due to finally like regress back to the mean. So that's good there, but not just the offensive production, but they were hemming the Devils in their own zone. They were really limiting the shots against Olmark when they were out there for a shift. So really encouraging stuff over the last couple of games, whether it be that contest against Detroit or that win against New Jersey. So for the Bruins, yeah, it's tough when I think you're finally seeing, guys when they're healthy in the lineup, and especially with these latest lineup, switches, production being there. So to lose a guy like Nosek, again, is it, losing Pasta or McAvoy? No, but, Nosek was a guy, it seemed like he was turning a corner, was really meshing with guys like Frederick and Lazar, Oskar Steen, who we'll talk about later. So just having that kind of dependable guy down the middle. Cassie kind of talked about it today on Wednesday that, where they really miss him on that fourth line. Yeah, you can put Trent Frederick in and he'll do a solid job for playing down the middle for what you're looking for out of that line. But Nosek especially was so good at the faceoff dot that you're kind of really going to miss that in terms of getting the puck, especially D zone draws, maintaining possession, limiting the amount of time you have in your own zone. So that will be an adjustment, I think, for a guy like Frederick or Lazar, who have been kind of so on the draw so far over this past season. So tough hit. Again, not like a cataclysmic loss that, all of a sudden you're losing like a top six guy, but still a guy that is really important for driving play on that fourth line, and a guy that, especially over these last couple of games, seemed like he was really kind of putting it together and getting rewarded on the score sheet finally.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned the fluky goals going in. That's the only way they could beat Mackenzie Blackwood. Remember
I mean,
last year when they
yes.
just couldn't beat him? So now they had to resort to just like Mickey Mouse, ping pong like goals to
Well,
to beat
and
him.
then you literally had like that grade A chance from Bergeron that he like robs him on too. So like he stops those, but then he has these random like ones that are like banking off of him and all that stuff. That yeah, whatever. I mean, you look at just the fact that how much the Bruins have not had goals like that, just fortunate bounces go their way. Again, we said it was destined to at some point. I don't think you're going to see them all of a sudden start, doing bank shots every single game, right? Or any like continue to have fluky goals. But a game like that was overdue for this team, where you get some luck go your way and it leads to actual tangible scoring, on the score sheet. Which for guys like Frederick Lazar, who aren't really, they don't really stuff the stat sheet even if they're playing well. It's good to see them get rewarded, and you hope that maybe it get some building some traction, especially in the offensive zone.
We'll get to one of those bottom six guys who looked really good over the past two games. But first, David Pastrnak finally breaks out. Great goal. I think that
Yeah.
honestly, it's funny. Like I expected it to be like a power play one timer that just
Yeah.
zipped by the goalie, but I think it was almost better that it was one of those like working hard on the forecheck, getting second chances type thing. They're almost leaving the zone, grabs it, takes it to the net. Like I think it's almost better that he scored that. And granted, he said after the game, wasn't worried about the slump at all. It'd been since November 30th, but you also have to take into account the fact that they didn't
They played
play
like
in the
3
second
games in
the
December.
second.
Yeah. Yeah.
You haven't scored this year yet, David
Yeah.
Pastrnak. But how big is it for him? I mean, it's funny. Cassidy said earlier in the year when he was having trouble scoring, because it was after Bergeron scored the 4 goals. Cassidy was like, oh yeah, well, Pasta will be the next one, and Pastrnak wasn't the next one.
Mhm.
But now it feels like maybe that time has come for David Pastrnak to score a bunch of goals.
Yeah, no, it's huge for him and for the team. Where I mean, would it surprise you over the next couple of games if he just goes on one of his heaters that we've seen time and time again, where it's 5 goals in 3 games or what have you? Like, wouldn't surprise you at all. And I think, as you said, it's encouraging that he scored that goal. It wasn't like a as much as I'm sure he would like it to be just a clean, one timer on the power play or what have you. The fact that he was driving to the net, like, get a second effort chance and burying it, I think was really encouraging. And that's something that Bruce Cassidy said, a few weeks ago. People asked him about whether he was worried about Pastrnak, and he said no, because it's not like, I think for him, you hit like the panic button for Pastrnak if he's like, not engaged in the offensive zone, he's not getting shots. Like, he's getting shots, like he's doing things that usually when you got a guy with that skill level and that shot, that usually the pucks are going your way, just hasn't yet. And again, you look at
Dude
even
hit a
a game,
million
yeah, a
posts.
million posts, crossbar, even, and there's been other times where he has just, his execution just hasn't been there. He had a chance on the power play against New Jersey where he more or less just whiffed on it. So you've had those as well. It's not just been complete bad luck on his part, but it's been a number of things. So for him to, break through by driving to the net, keeping it simple, and it's something that Cassidy mentioned that he's been doing that a lot more recently. I mean, when Charlie McAvoy scored that goal against Detroit off that feed from Hall, it was Pasta who was down low, kind of screening Nedeljkovic. So you had that. Pasta was down low in that fluky, weird Carlo goal with like 20 seconds left. So he's doing, it's not like he's, going through the motions in terms like, well, I've almost scored 50 goals countless times before. I know I've got a great one timer. I'm gonna just, I'm gonna pull an Ovechkin and just hammer from my usual spot until they eventually go in. Like, he's doing things to generate high quality chances, make things a little bit easier for himself in the offensive zone when it comes to generating these looks. So I think for the Bruins, you're encouraged by that he's, not just going through the motions and relying on just maybe his pure talent to eventually break out of the slump. So for him, whether it's, his goal, on Tuesday, or if it's more goals like that, where it's a tip, a rebound, all those things, whatever it gets him going is going to be key for him, because again, you have to imagine that sooner or later, those usual chances he gets, whether it's, on the power play or from his usual kind of shooting lanes, are going to be there, and he's going to sooner or later convert on them. So who knows? I mean, you want to draw comparisons to Bergeron and his mini slump to open the year. Like, sooner or later they're going to play like, I don't know, Montreal next week, and they're going to leave him open in the left circle, and he's going to score 2 3 power play goals, right? Like, I feel like he's due for one of those, and for him to finally get on the score sheet, get rewarded for it, it only means good things, not just for his confidence, but for a Bruins team that you have a lot of other guys pulling on the rope right now. When Pastrnak gets back to his, usual production, got a pretty scary offensive, grouping right now.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's funny. Cassidy, before the coming back from COVID, switched up the top two lines, which I think is the smart move. Like, we've said that for a while now. Like, if you want to get Taylor Hall going, you're going to need to put David Pastrnak with him, and he even went so far as to put Eric Holla on that second line, which I think has worked out well. I've liked Holla
Hmm.
on that second line. I don't think it's been bad. Do I expect him to be, as we said, do we expect them to be David Krejci? No, but just you know, obviously Holla's not the main guy on that line. He's the third guy. Just do your job and you'll be fine. Not to be Bill Belichick here, but it's true. Just exist. Fight for pucks.
Just
Get,
exist.
hit open guys. Just
That's what they
exist.
like. They have like that huge whiteboard in the room and just writes like "exist" for.
Exist. The E
But
in
you're
Eric
right.
Holla stands for exist. Yes.
Yes.
Just do enough to get Pasternak and Taylor Hall the puck. Create some open space. I mean, as we said, Pasternak draws attention. We saw it on the and I said this on Bruins beat. I think it was the goal against Buffalo, where or no, it wasn't a goal. Taylor Hall took like a slap shot from the blue line with all that time, and it was like, dude, what are you doing? But like, four Sabres came in on Pasternak, and it's like, that time and space is created because those two are together. So I think I think, obviously a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's three teams you're playing," And by the way, the Red Wings aren't bad. Like, the Red
Yeah.
Wings are technically ahead of the Bruins in the standings. I don't know if they still are.
They're
Um,
not now,
they're not
but
anymore. They're not anymore, but they were for a little while.
yes.
And that's a good team. That's not like the Red Wings of the past couple of years. I think that's like a much better team. But still, the signs are pointing up, because even though some of the goals are fluky and the opponents are not the Lightning and the Panthers, it's still encouraging because those weren't there even when they were playing these teams earlier in the year. And you have these new top two lines which look a lot better. The bottom six looks much better. I mean, Nick Foligno, I mean, that Oskar Steen goal, where he, which we'll talk about in a second, knocked it off the top, and then it went into the metaverse and did it. Um, Even then, Nick Foligno almost got credit for like
Mhm.
they're scoring such fluky goals. Like 5 guys could take credit for the goal. Brian Kelly
Yeah, fuck
dropping
that
that.
dude. That dude
And
stinks.
some people were like, "Oh, maybe it's a joke," and I was like, "That was not said as a joke. That was said
No,
completely serious."
that dude's just like completely frazzled going down there. He probably thinks that like going to Louisiana is like going to like the Popeyes over by Fenway, like, and it's far from it, pal. So like you go from this. Where's he even from? Chelsea. He's from like Chelsea,
Uh,
right?
I think so.
I
I'll
think
look
yeah,
this
he's
up.
he's from Mass. I know that. So you goes from that to having like sounding like Caleb Crawdad on like that awful like introduction he had for the basketball game to then doubling down about Boston on having accents. Like, dude, literally like if you ask people like what's maybe the most discernible like accent, it's like probably either New York or Boston, right? Like,
100%.
what are you
Well,
doing?
100%.
You idiot. Like
Yeah.
that dude just it hurts my like
Southern's pretty discernible too, kind of
yeah.
like this, you know. I mean, that
Yes.
sound that
Sound
we
like
all know that
molasses
voice. Yeah,
molasses
yeah.
spilling out your mouth.
I love me some Popeyes fried chicken.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess
of course.
I never think off
You
the top
did
of
a
my head.
better you know
Hey,
what? You did a friggin' better job than Brian Kelly doing his, like, his introduction down at the basketball game, so, yeah,
I'm so ready to get some ready down here real soon. It's like, dude,
Brian
shut up.
Brian Kelly lost his fan banner captain privileges by disrespecting the entire
Ooh.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Get
So
out of here.
yes. So
Out. Out.
you mentioned Chelsea. It is not Chelsea. It's Everett.
Oh, God.
It's Everett. It's
He is
even worse.
officially denied he's denied access to the Texas Roadhouse in Everett now. He
That's
can
or
no longer show his face.
or Encore. He can't go to
Yes,
Encore
he can't
either.
go to Encore anymore.
He's done. No,
No.
I'm totally for banishing him from like
Yeah,
any
he's out.
Massachusetts history or anything. I mean, ridiculous. By the way, I work in Atlanta technically, so I technically can do a Southern accent. That's like
Mhm.
part of my thing. Part of my thing. I say y'all now, even though I'm working for my fucking
So you're
loving
Brian
boss.
Kelly as well, yeah. The new Brian
I am.
Kelly.
I'm a
Brian Kelly
complete
of
fraud.
Framingham.
I'm a complete fraud. I hope no one clips that. Anyways, I loved Sarah's reply to Brian Kelly's thing that you had to go to REI the other day, which must have just put your tongue in a pretzel.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not fun to say it. It was one of those
so
things where I catch myself and try not to do it now. That or like your RA like on your dorm floor. Like I can't say that.
ooh,
It's not fun.
RA.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really really bad. So Brian Kelly
Speak,
out of here.
Speaking of the accents, it's funny. Last night I was going to tweet this and I didn't because I was like, that's kind of lame. But do you remember a few years ago they did like a Funny or Die skit with Tom Brady at like a
Oh
Dick's
yeah,
Sporting
where
Goods,
he's
being
at
like, "Oh,
Dick's. Yeah.
if you're from Boston," and he just clearly doesn't have an accent. And I was like,
Mhm.
actually, this clip is not as funny as I remember it when I was watching it when I was like 14 years old.
That was like when
But
like Brady started like actually like doing ads though. It's just like oh like Brady can do anything now. Brady can do like an
yeah,
ad for like oat milk and I'll retweet it. Like
yeah. I mean, I got UGG when I was like when I was like a freshman in high school. I
you
got
bought UGG
UGG
shoes
dress
because Brady
shoes.
got.
I got UGG dress shoes because Tom Brady got them. Honest to God, though, they are so comfortable. I
I
still
mean
wear them
I
sometimes.
believe it.
Yeah, no, I mean like complete corporate chill for that, but so
It's
comfortable on the
understandable.
insides. Yeah, no, I mean when your feet feel good, everything feels good. Anyways, speaking of feet
People are
feeling good,
listening to this thing are like what the hell is this? How did they disrespect Ray Borg by talking about Uggs, Brian Kelly, and TikTok? That's all we've talked
it,
about.
that's pretty much been it. Anyways, Oscar Steen doing so much better now. And I think Oscar Steen, it's funny. I've been getting a lot of people messaging me and sending tweets to me being like, why hasn't Oscar Steen been in line up for a while? And I always kind of go, I don't know. I don't know why. Because every time, and Bruce Cassidy mentioned this, every time he's come up in the lineup, he's looked better and better, but they continuously try Carson Kuhlman there, or, they put other guys in different positions. But feels like with Jake DeBrusk going on the COVID protocol list, this is like the time for Steen to shine. And it was pretty evident on Tuesday night when he batted in that goal, but even past the goal, like I
Yeah.
just think he complements Coyle and Foligno really well on that third line. But some people are saying he should be even higher in the lineup. Some people are saying he could even be a top 6 guy. I don't know how you fit him in there unless you
Yeah.
move Craig Smith down. I don't know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, even if you're just mapping out projections and like, let's say you down the road you deal DeBrusk for we'll say, as a package for a top six center or for a defenseman. Like, if you're worried about like that vacancy left there in that third line when DeBrusk is gone, I'm sure the Bruins have to be encouraged by what you saw from a guy like Steen in that third line role, right? Because again, it's great for him to get on the score sheet, get rewarded finally by getting that goal, even though it was a bit of an odd one. But beyond just that, I mean, you just look at just the eye test and the way he plays. I mean, he kind of fits with whatever kind of line combination you have on that third or fourth line because he plays pretty straight line hockey. He led all Bruins forwards in hits in the game on Tuesday, which for some Bruins fans is like the ultimate like check mark,
Ah.
right? Like, so he's got that. Like, he's not the biggest dude, but he's still 5'9", almost 200 pounds though. But will throw his weight around, will be the first guy in on the forecheck. But I think you watch the rest of his game, makes smart passes in transition. Has a few clean entries, but also in the offensive zone when he's with a guy like Coyle, who, as we know, likes to hold on to the puck, possess the puck, wait for some of those chances to develop. You watch Oskar Steen, he's always like in between the dots. He's always like in the crease, or he's always waiting for kind of like a one-timer look in soft areas of the ice. So he does a great job at identifying that, which you have to imagine as he continues to feel more comfortable up at the NHL level. Like, I'm not saying the guy's going to be a 20 goal scorer, but if he, over the span of like an 82 game pace becomes a productive third line guy that gets you 10, 12, 15 goals, like plays a straight line game, complements guys like Coyle and Flino. It's a great, development, not just for him, for a guy who's making the most of his opportunity, but for the Bruins. Like, again, we talked about how many times they've waited for some of these younger players to come up and develop and carve out a spot. Like, look at like a guy like Stanika, right? Like, you have a guy in Steen who, at the very least, looks like a key cog, an everyday guy that you can put in the bottom six, which for the Bruins, where you desperately need any sort of younger guys carving out roles, looks like Steen's kind of making the most of the opportunity. And, I don't know how you can kind of take him out of the lineup right now because, you know, we'll see what happens when DeBrusk gets back. Maybe he slots back down to the fourth line. But from what you've seen from Steen so far, I don't really see any kind of like flaws or anything that needs to really kind of tweak in his game right now. Like, he's making the most of his opportunity.
100%. No, and that's the thing. And I think it leads to the next question of, Jake DeBrusk requested a trade about a month ago now, a little over a month ago, and it's like, well, when is this going to happen? And obviously stuff's come
Yes.
up, right? I mean, obviously the COVID stuff, there was the holiday roster freeze, the NHL kind of went on pause. Like, it's not like the Bruins have just been like, oh, we're sitting on our hands waiting for the right trade offer. But I do think at the same time, this has to happen at some point. And it's funny because Bleacher Report had an article on December 1st of the NHL trade block big board. Now, granted, it's one opinion, but they have Jake DeBrusk as actually like the number one rated potential guy to move at the deadline.
I guess when
And
I
I
guess when everyone's announced that, like, yeah, we've requested a trade, that makes it easier to.
Yes, that's a valid point. But I do wonder,
Yeah.
when do you start to like with DeBrusk? When does it become too late? When does it become, oh, he's one of everybody else? Because the allure of DeBrusk now is he's a guy who wants to be traded now. The Bruins are urgently looking for a partner now. And if you're a team in need of some depth-ish scoring, a guy with high upside, this is your guy. But if you're gonna wait until the deadline to move DeBrusk, then you've got a lot of other competition that you might not get the best offer or an offer that you're getting it now. When does DeBrusk get dealt? Because this
Yeah, I
feels like
mean,
it's been going on forever.
yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword for the Bruins, who, granted, through this whole process, don't really have a lot of leverage anyway. But I could see like waiting for a better move because, like, right now, maybe it's just teams are only willing to give them, a mid-tier pick and another like potential project or guy due for rebound season. Like, if you're the Bruins, like, you just look at some of these other teams that are trending downwards. Like, look at Edmonton, how they've fallen over the last month or so. If we looked at them back in like late November, early December when DeBrusk first made the trade, it's like, well, no, they're fine. Like, what else do they need? Now all of a sudden they seem like they're desperate. Like when DeBrusk was not practicing on Tuesday, I think everyone's first reaction was like, oh, Edmonton had that horrible loss. Did they just pull a trade? Like, so if you're the Bruins, you're trying to get more leverage out of other teams. Maybe it is about kind of waiting things out and seeing what teams get more desperate as they see a guy like DeBrusk who's got 20 goal potential, if whether or not they eventually kind of concede in terms of what they want to give up or what have you. So the Bruins at this point, maybe it's the better call for at least the meantime. I mean, the trade deadline is not until March 21st, so they've got some time before it really kind of boils over. So whether it's waiting for a few more weeks for another team to come up short, maybe that's the best route. But I have to imagine they still want to move him sooner rather than later. But whether it's a team like Edmonton, a team like San Jose, who's kind of falling short now, where sooner or later you have to address the situation with Tomas Hurdle, where maybe a guy like DeBrusk is someone they covet as part of a larger trade, obviously. But from the Bruins now, where you're kind of waiting things out, I'm sure both the Bruins and DeBrusk especially would like to get this over with. But if you're waiting it out for a few more weeks, another month or so, you're giving a chance for DeBrusk to build up his value once he gets back into the lineup, and teams start getting more desperate. Maybe that's the best route to take in terms of getting a proper return for a guy that, as I think we've both said before, wouldn't surprise either of us. He goes to a new team and lights it up again, right?
Yes, we've been saying this for a while now.
Yes.
I also do think that, and I was talking about this on Bruins Beat by myself. Always fun doing you did a podcast alone
Yes.
when I was on vacation. It's like you're just sitting there talking to yourself. It's just you and the
Yes.
computer screen sitting there just chatting it up. But I was saying how a package deal is the best for DeBrusk, and I understand the stuff for a struggling winger for struggling winger. Like who was the guy from Seattle that was mentioned a bunch? Oh
I
my
feel like
god, who
everyone's been
was
mentioning a
that?
bunch in that boring
There
ass
was
team.
it was Friedman who mentioned it first. It was oh my god, his name's escaping me. This is terrible. People are getting so angry. Um but there was
I've
there was
invested literally zero thought in that Kraken team over the last like week or so. So I've given
oh
up
no,
watching.
I and even worse, I lost my Kraken sweatshirt. I don't know where it went. Like it's gone. I had a
You
I
can't
had
even
Kraken
play for them now.
sweatshirt.
You might be able to play for them at this point. That team
I
stinks.
know. That team blows.
Yeah.
But they had a winger that was like mentioned in a potential DeBrusk for that person swap,
Oh,
and their
Mason
name is
Appleton.
escaping me. Mason Appleton, there it is. Boom.
Yeah.
People can be happy now. But for someone like him or Kyler Yamamoto's name has been thrown
Yeah.
around a bunch. I just don't see it. What's the point? You have enough struggling fringe
Yeah.
wingers. You don't need another.
And,
So
and you've got a guy like Steen who like very well could slot
yes.
into that third line role. You'd rather have a young guy in your own system who's cheaper, develop and maybe become again, like if you get like a guy like Yamamoto or Appleton, what's like their ceiling, right? Like 30-point guy, 10, 15 goals. Maybe you hope Steen becomes that. Like maybe that's just jumping the gun for a guy with a small sample size. But I think if you're the Bruins, you'd much rather use a trade chip in DeBrusk as part of, a larger package to get, again, guys we've said countless times before, a hurdle, a guy on defense. Like I think you'd rather do that. And if a guy like Steen can kind of plug in that hole in that third line and be another productive middle six guy that can chip in offensively, then maybe that's a solid solution there to replace DeBrusk in terms of just his spot in the lineup.
Yes, and one thing about depth players is they're going to need them in this upcoming stretch.
Yes.
5 games in 7 days, starting today, Thursday. You got the Wild, then you go to Tampa, then you go to Washington, then you come home against Montreal. You're then home again against Philly, and you're home against Nashville. But that's not
Yeah.
technically in the 5 day, 7 day span. But it's still
And,
a game
it's
coming
like
up.
a seven game homestand. So yeah, the schedule ramps up, and they still haven't even announced where these
Oh
new
yeah,
games are going until like February. Like you click ahead to February, and it's still nothing. Like they're still just
yes. Oh,
winging it.
I didn't even realize they're home a bunch.
Yeah,
They're home a ton. I didn't. I was just looking at the opponents. I wasn't looking at the. I'm on a day-to-day basis here. I'm not looking at the
time's a flat
location of this
circle,
place.
Evan.
Yeah, time doesn't exist anymore. But they are going to be jam-packed with games. Which is why, again, I think this is a huge stretch for Oskar Steen, where like you can carve out a legit role for yourself. In these next few games. And and also with the goaltending too, because January 12th is coming up soon, which is the date that they kind of had circled for Tuukka Rask. So that's another thing we have to watch. So this upcoming stretch is going to be very, very fun. Lots of things to watch for and games to watch. It's funny. It's the complete opposite of December, where we were kind of sitting at home December nights being like, what do we do? And
Yeah.
now it's like, well, what don't we do? There's so many things to do. So, anyways, Connor, before we go, what can the people look forward to over at BSJ?
Yeah, it's obviously been a very busy week. We've been breaking down all of kind of the key moments from the Bruins winning streak. We've looked at secondary scoring, expectations for Oskar Steen. I'm sure we'll see more guys get reps going forward. I mean, there'll be plenty of takeaways from this whole entire hectic stretch, including what very well could be Tuukka Rask signing at some point over the next couple of days, next week or so. If he's down in Providence, maybe we'll make a trek down to the Dunk for that. Not the local Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, Rhode
No,
Island.
we're going to
Yeah.
Dunks.
Yes. We'll be live from Dunkin'. I'll do another one from the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot again. But we'll have all that stuff over at BSJ. So please subscribe to BostonSportsJournal.com. Want to follow me on Twitter? You can do that at ConorRyan_93 or follow me on TikTok at @ByConorRyan.
By Conor Ryan. Yeah, the what a dunks. What a dunks for Tuukka Rask's debut. Anyways, yes, go do all of that. For CLNS Media, I'm F. Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. You Poke the Bear listeners. Have an awesome rest.